Yeah, and then I'll answer.
Certain way of progress.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to start at around 6:10 or so. We have a few more people we're waiting for, so we'll start the program in probably about another 5 minutes or so. All right, we'll go ahead and get the program started for this evening. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Kent County Levy Court and Kent County EMS's second annual Survivor Ceremony. I am Staff Sergeant Greg Shelties, and I speak on behalf of our entire EMS administration when I say it is an honor to host this event, where we can reunite survivors with the courageous individuals who, in their moment of need, delivered life-saving care. First and foremost, we would like to thank all of you in attendance for taking the time to be here tonight to honor and celebrate survivors of sudden cardiac arrest and the responders who provided critical resuscitative efforts. We are also joined by some distinguished guests that I would like to acknowledge as we start tonight's ceremony. Your support of our program is very much appreciated. If you could, please hold your applause until the end. From our EMS directors, we have State EMS Medical Director, Dr. Rob Rosenbaum, County EMS Medical Director, Dr. Brian Choi, and retired County EMS Director, Dr. Dean Daubert. From Levy Court, we have Commissioner Joanne Maston, Commissioner Alan Angel, who is the Vice President of Levy Court, Commissioner Bobby Scott, who is our Public Safety Chairperson, Commissioner Jody Sweeney, and Commissioner Paul Hertz. Also, we have County Administrator Ken Decker. From the state legislature, we have Senator Dave Wilson. We utilize the Zoll X Series monitor in Kent County, and we are delighted to have Zoll Medical as a sponsor of tonight's event. Here to represent Zoll Medical is Chad Levin. A round of applause, please, for our distinguished guests. I would also be remiss if I did not recognize the committee who put together this evening's event. Sergeant Laura Doyle, Sergeant Jessica Poe, and FTO Jen Sweetman. Your commitment to excellence is critical in the success of tonight's event. This week is particularly special as we celebrate National EMS Week. It is a time to honor the dedicated EMS professionals who are on the front lines every day, delivering critical care and saving lives. Their unwavering commitment, expertise, and compassion are vital to the health and safety of our communities. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to all EMS professionals for their tireless service and remarkable courage. So now, to the reason we are here tonight. We gather to celebrate life, resilience, and the extraordinary power of human connection. It is an honor to stand before you, surrounded by heroes, both those who have faced cardiac arrest and emerged victorious, and those who have provided the immediate care that saved lives. Tonight, we will reunite those survivors with the individuals who swiftly responded and resuscitated with skill. To our survivors, your presence here is a testament to the incredible strength of the human spirit. You have faced one of the most terrifying moments imaginable and have come through, not just as survivors, but as beacons of hope and inspiration. Your stories are powerful reminders of the delicacy of life and the remarkable resilience that lives within us all. You remind us that each heartbeat is a precious gift. To the responders and bystanders who acted swiftly and selflessly, we owe you our deepest gratitude. Your quick thinking, skill, and compassion have made the difference between life and death. You are the unsung heroes whose bravery and dedication ensure that more stories like those of our survivors can be told. Your actions embody the very essence of humanity, to reach out, to care, and to save. Tonight is more than a celebration. It is a reminder of the importance of awareness, training, and community. It is a call to continue our efforts in educating more people about CPR and the critical steps to take during a cardiac arrest emergency. Knowledge and preparedness are powerful tools, and together we can equip more individuals to become lifesavers. As we share in the joy of life renewed, let us also take a moment to remember those who did not make it. Their memories drive us to do better, to be better, and to strive for a future where more lives can be saved through timely and effective intervention. In closing, let us celebrate the triumph of the human spirit, the power of community, and the gift of life. Let us honor the survivors who inspire us, the responders who protect us, and the continued efforts to educate and empower us all. Together, we can create a world where stories of survival are the norm and where every heartbeat is cherished. Thank you once again for being here this evening. I hope you leave tonight feeling inspired and uplifted. Let us continue to make a difference, one heartbeat at a time. It is with my honor this evening to introduce to you Dr. Brian Choi. As our county medical director, Dr. Choi is instrumental in developing life-saving protocols and practices deployed in the field, and he would like to share a few remarks with us this evening. Welcome, Dr. Choi.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to attend today's celebration. My name is Brian Choi. As Sergeant Schultes introduced, I'm the County Medical Director for Kent EMS. So I think the overall theme that makes this event so powerful is pretty simple and obvious for everyone in the room, and that is gratitude. Obviously, it goes without saying that those who are saved by first responders, EMS, fire, and police, those of you who are gathered here today are certainly grateful for the excellent medical care that allowed you to continue with your lives despite an event that for the majority of human history meant certain death and even more devastation for those left behind. But I think it's also important to point out that those who save are also grateful to those who were saved. It's your continuing stories and the impacts that you make every day on your families and communities that are one of the most powerful motivations for us to continue doing what we do. And this is all despite increasing burdens and threats faced by healthcare workers and public servants from all angles. When this day and age, when firefighters, doctors, nurses, paramedics, and police can be imprisoned for serving their communities, why would anyone here do what they do? Why would you place your life and your freedom on the line knowing what we all know? I think it's because sometimes, and we all know this, sometimes we are afforded the chance to make a difference. Sometimes we can turn a catastrophe into a second chance at life and a reaffirmation of love. So whether that be for our significant others, our families, our faith, or our country, or our way of being, we find a way to devote ourselves again with every life saved, no matter whose it is. So once again, thank you for your time.
Our final speaker before we move into the ceremony portion of the evening is Reverend Rich Walton. Reverend Walton is the chaplain of Clayton and Harrington Fire Companies and is actively involved in the Critical Instant Stress Management Program of Kent County. Reverend Walton has offered to open us with an opening prayer.
First off, let me greet our distinguished guests, our honored guests, and those responders that made this possible for us to be here. Let us enter into a time of prayer. Creator, you have given all a special gift. Some you have given enlightenment, some wisdom, but many a special call upon their lives to be ready to do whatever is necessary to save a life. Lord, for all the responders that are here, those that are volunteer and those that are paid, our EMS divisions, and those volunteers who offered their time to learn CPR, we ask for your continued blessing to be upon them. For them to be ready for the next call, for the next life that can be saved. To the lives of those who have been extended. This is a privilege for all of us to meet you. It's an honor to be able to break bread, if that's what we're going to have a beverage with you, to hear your voice that is special, because God wanted it to be heard again. For the families that can celebrate this day, we welcome you and thank you. But as the sergeant said, there are some that we couldn't save. It drives us to be even more attentive to our training, to the time that we have. So we ask a special request for additional time with our loved ones, for training that we can learn to do even more, and for the time that it takes to save a life. Truly, all of this we ask and give thanks to our Creator, our Sustainer, and our Savior. And all God's children can say, Amen.
According to the latest data from the American Heart Association, there were over 356,000 instances of out-of-hospital cardiac arrests in 2023, with approximately 40% of those individuals receiving CPR from bystanders. Tragically, near 90% of out-of-hospital arrests do not survive. In Kent County, we had 243 cardiac arrests that were reported in 2023, with 42% of those victims benefiting from bystander CPR. Tonight's ceremony serves as a powerful reminder of the critical role that bystander CPR and early defibrillation plays in saving lives. Tonight's proceedings will highlight 14 remarkable cases that yielded the most favorable outcomes, of which some of them are here with us tonight. Unfortunately, some of our survivors could not be here in attendance this evening, and we will begin by recognizing those responders that had an invaluable role in their survival. From Kent Center, we have Shift Supervisor Josh Norris, Shift Supervisor Jeff Outen, Retired Shift Supervisor Eddie Siemens, Assistant Shift Supervisor Delbert Ross, and Dispatcher Chris Whippy. From Kent County Paramedics, we have Captain Dave Abramson, Staff Sergeant Greg Schulteis, Sergeant Laura Doyle, Sergeant Kenny Kelly, FTO Miguel Barrios, FTO Andy Lauritsen, FTO Melanie Marinucci, and FTO Jennifer Sweetman. We also have paramedics Kelly Brothers, Mia Davis, Avery Edrington, Yeager Oaks, Cody Outen, Enma Rodriguez, Daniel Walterscheid, and Brandon Yorkovic. From the Magnolia Fire Department, we have firefighter and EMTs Brian Contino and Mike Moriarty. From the Smyrna American Legion, we have Captain Michael Herbert, EMTs James Cortese, Michael Helmer, and Brian Moore. And last but not least, from the St. Francis EMS Division, we have Captain Mike O'Connor, Lieutenant Mike Kempista, Lieutenant Sean Martin, Sergeant Ross Sheridan, and EMTs McKendry Corticello, Beverly Hayes, Cody Hills, Taylor Johnson, Deanna Torres, and Ashley Vini. And lastly, Camden Fire Department, we have Albert Apacello, EMT firefighter Ernie Dory, Jason Rasmussen, and Mike Robbins.
Everyone look at Jaylee for me. Please. Hold still. Thank you, guys.
If your name is on the PowerPoint, if you could proceed to the right and then walk around to my left. At this time, we would like to honor Mr. Dale Maston. Sorry, let me back up one more time. We will continue tonight's celebration by honoring. This is messed up. Okay. At this time, we would like to honor Mr. Robert Thomas. Mr. Thomas, would you please join us up here tonight? On June 7th, shortly before 11 p.m., the Kent County Dispatch Center received a call reporting a gentleman in cardiac arrest. The St. Francis EMS Division arrived swiftly and initiated life-saving measures, including administering an AED shock. The crucial intervention restored Mr. Thomas's pulse. Once Kent County paramedics arrived, additional life-saving measures were performed. Mr. Thomas was stabilized and transported to Bay Health Kent campus for further treatment. The prompt response from these crews and the early use of CPR and the AED were instrumental in saving Mr. Thomas's life. At this time, we would like to recognize the following. From Kent Center, Dispatcher Scott Thorne. From Kent County Paramedics, Sergeant Kenny Kelly. Paramedics Caitlin Marvin and Anna Schmidt. And then from St. Francis, Lieutenant Sean Martin and EMTs Beverly Hayes, Brittany Moriarty, Emma Port, and Tom Stoltz.
At this time, we would like to honor Mr. Dale Maston. Mr. Maston, would you and your son, Zach, please join us up front? On the morning of September 4th at approximately 11 a.m., Zach Maston faced a moment that no one ever hopes to encounter. He found his father, Dale Maston, in the midst of a severe seizure, one that he has never encountered before, resulting in cardiac arrest. Zach then dialed 911 and was provided clear and precise CPR instructions over the phone, which Zach immediately began to follow. As Zach performed CPR, the crew from Smyrna American Legion arrived on scene, and they quickly assessed Mr. Maston's condition and discovered that he was in a shockable rhythm. Without hesitation, they applied their AED and delivered 2 life-saving shocks before the arrival of the advanced medical team from KM6. During the course of his resuscitation, Mr. Maston received a total of 5 shocks. Mr. Maston was then transported to Bay Health Kent campus for further treatment and stabilization. His road to recovery has been long and arduous, but it continues to make progress each day. Tonight, we are fortunate, he was supposed to be here with us, and be able to greet him and thank him for, and his son, for Zach, for all of their swift actions, as well as the EMS teams that were involved. Zach's quick thinking and early intervention was crucial in those moments, and they made all of the difference. We gather here to celebrate the life and resilience and to honor the bravery and dedication that brought Dale Maston back to us. At this time, we would like to recognize the following. First, we would like to recognize Zach Maston for performing bystander CPR. From Kent Center, Dispatcher Veronica Dickerson. and Lucy. From Kent County Paramedics, we have paramedics Kelly Brothers and Dirk Yoder. From the Smyrna American Legion, we have Lieutenant Anthony Jones, EMT Antoine Kearney, Michael Helmer, and Sam Henry.
At this time, we would like to honor Mr. Elijah Banks. Mr. Banks, would you please join us up front if they're here? On October 30th, around 1 a.m., first responders were dispatched to assist an unconscious person. Dover Police Department, PFC Alderson, was the first to arrive on scene where he found Mr. Banks in cardiac arrest. PFC Alderson immediately began CPR and applied his AED, delivering 2 shocks. EMS crews arrived shortly after and continued resuscitative efforts. Just before arriving at Bay Health Kent campus, Mr. Banks regained pulses. All early interventions and continuing care have made it possible for Mr. Banks to be here with us tonight. At this time, we would like to recognize the following: from Kent Center, dispatcher Becca Biddle; from Dover PD, PFC Max Alderson; from Kent County Paramedics, paramedic Avery Edgerton and Brandon Yorkovic. And then from St. Francis EMS, Lieutenant Mike Jenkins, and EMTs Taylor Johnson, Brian Kennedy, Steve Phillips, Emma Port, and Tom Stoltz.
At this time, we would like to honor Mr. David Hurley. Mr. Hurley, would you please join us up front? At this time, I would also like to invite up Mr. Jonathan Stewart and Mr. Brent Mahalan, if you are in the audience. On November 22nd, Mr. David Hurley was playing a friendly match of pickleball when he suddenly became unresponsive. Bystanders quickly called 911, and the Kent County Rec Center employees Jonathan Stewart and Brent Mahalan began CPR. An AED from the site was utilized, delivering 2 shocks before any first responders arrived on scene. First responders arrived and continued to provide resuscitative efforts. Soon after their arrival, Mr. Hurley had a return of spontaneous circulation and was transported to Bay Health Kent campus for further treatment and stabilization. Remarkably, during transport, Mr. Hurley began to breathe again on his own. Thanks to the swift actions of Mr. Stewart and Mr. Mahalan, they played such a crucial role in saving Mr. Hurley's life. At this time, we would like to also recognize the following: Mr. Jonathan Stewart and Mr. Mahalan for performing bystander CPR. And from Kent Center, Assistant Shift Supervisor Eric Neild. From Kent County Paramedics, Lieutenant Mike Clark, FTO Rachel Doan, and Paramedic Rich Allen. From St. Francis EMS, Lieutenant Mike Jenkins, EMTs Brian Kenny and Steve Phillips. And from Camden Fire Department, Deputy Chief Phil Lewis, Past Chief Ernie Piazza, Career Supervisor Chris Clow, and Firefighter EMT James Farley. She's in charge of that.
At this time, we would like to honor Mrs. Diane Acker. Mrs. Acker, would you please join us up front? On December 12th, Diane Acker attended a Christmas party at the Public Safety Headquarters with the Kent County Amateur Radio Club. Bystanders noted that she appeared red in the face and she was feeling faint. Bystanders called 911 and assisted Mrs. Acker to the ground. Knowing that paramedics were not in the station, dispatcher Eric Ross ran into the lobby to help. Dispatcher Ross found Mrs. Acker pulseless and immediately began chest compressions. Paramedics arrived soon after and continued resuscitative efforts. Return of spontaneous circulation was achieved and Mrs. Acker was transported to Bay Health Kent campus for further treatment and stabilization. Without the quick call to 911, Dispatcher Ross's efforts, and the care provided by the responding personnel, Mrs. Acker would not be here with us tonight. At this time, we would like to recognize the following. From Kent Center, Dispatcher Eric Ross. From Kent County Paramedics, Staff Sergeant Greg Schulteis, Sergeant Michelle Zafora, and then Paramedics Mike Porter and Alec Thornton. From St. Francis EMS, Lieutenant Sean Martin, and then EMTs Beverly Hayes and Brian Kennedy. He can come up.
At this time, we would like to honor Mr. Cody Ruba. Mr. Ruba, would you please come and join us up front? On Christmas Eve, first responders were dispatched to an unconscious person. While exchanging gifts, Mr. Ruba suddenly stated that he was having trouble breathing and became unresponsive. Mr. Ruba's partner activated 911 and instructed him to get onto the ground. Doing so, BLS arrived to find him with agonal respirations. BLS worked to manage his airway and move him into an area that was more manageable. When ALS arrived, they found the patient pulseless, and after 30 minutes of resuscitative care, Mr. Ruba had a return of spontaneous circulation. Mr. Ruba was then transported to Bay Health Kent campus for further treatment and stabilization. Mr. Ruba had an internal defibrillator placed while he was in the hospital and discharged home. At this time, we would like to recognize the following. From Kent Center, dispatcher Becca Biddle. From Kent County Paramedics, FTO Jennifer Sweetman, and paramedics Sophia Rogers and Daniel Waterside. From Smyrna American Legion, Lieutenant Sam Henry, Lieutenant Anthony Jones, and EMTs Jesse Catterton, Robert Garcia, Mike Pooling, and Chrissy Ramirez. And from Clayton Fire Company, we have Chief Austin Moorhead, Assistant Chief Jeff Lightcap, Past Chief Skip Caro, Captain Tim Conrad, Lieutenant Jason Sacco, and firefighters Evan Boyle, Jake Lucas, and Aaron Schwartz.
At this time, we would like to honor Mrs. Nancy Rains. Mrs. Rains, would you please join us up front? On Christmas morning, first responders were dispatched for a cardiac arrest. While Mrs. Raines and her daughter were opening Christmas gifts, Mrs. Raines collapsed. Past Chief Mike Raines heard the dispatch and responded directly to the residents. He was the first to arrive on scene and immediately began CPR. Responding crews arrived shortly thereafter and continued resuscitative efforts. Mrs. Raines was transported to Bay Health Kent campus and eventually regained pulses. The early CPR provided by Mike Raines played a significant role in her survival, giving her the ability to be with us here tonight. At this time, we would like to recognize the following. From Kent Center, dispatchers Carrie Wallace and Chucky Welch. From Kent County paramedics Kelly Brothers and Shane Jester. From Felton Fire Company, Deputy Chief Kevin Sipple, Past Chief Kevin Raines, and Past Chief Mike Raines, Firefighter EMT Dana Burton, Firefighter Ryan Fletcher, Firefighter EMT Brian Neese, Firefighter Orlando Pritchett, and then Firefighter James Wilson. And from Magnolia Fire Company, EMT Kevin Gallion, and then Firefighter Kenny Graw.
All right. So I just want to let everybody know that unfortunately Deputy Chief John Tinger won't be here tonight, but I do want to say that I think I beat his time from last year. He thought I was going to be up here for about 2 hours speaking. For those of you who know me, that's quite believable, but that's why I created a script to keep us on track. So I appreciate everybody coming this evening to the Kent County EMS's 2024 Survivor Ceremony. I would like to let everybody know that down in room 220, right down the hallway, we do have refreshments, and I would like to invite everybody for food and fellowship down there. Thank you all for coming this evening. You already got enough of them.